Hello and welcome to this installment of ServiceNow's Federal Forum. My name is Chris Russick, and I am an IT Transformation Sales Manager responsible for the U.S. Army and U.S. Navy. I am joined today by Bill Miller, one of our founding partners and principal consultant for Proven Optics. Proven Optics is a strategic partner of ServiceNow, providing our customers with technology business management solutions on the ServiceNow platform using our ITBM product. For more than 20 years, agencies and commands and private enterprise alike have talked about how to run IT like a business. Together, ServiceNow and Proven Optics make this a reality. This is a particularly near and dear to my heart because customers who are successful using our products for TBM are able to parlay that success into solid asset management practices based on a proactive and fiscally responsible approach to application portfolio management. This provides our agencies and commands with a solid foundation for balanced budgets, management, and complete understanding of service costs. Without further ado, I give you Bill Miller, who will talk to us about a DoD customer's journey to TBM excellence.
Chris, thank you, and everyone, welcome to our session. Today, I'm going to be hosting a discussion on modernizing and streamlining the government financial management process. But first, let's give a little background. So, Proven Optics, as Chris was saying, teamed up with ServiceNow to really understand how we could bring to our agencies the capability of TBM and financial management processes. So ServiceNow has been focused on, and my focus has been for the last 20 years, really helping organizations understand how to take their current capabilities and mature them around IT financial management. And when we teamed up with ServiceNow, we developed an application on the ServiceNow store to help agencies get this going in a very rapid way. And we get asked all the time, what is the ServiceNow store? All right, so let me explain. So ServiceNow developed on the platform an actual marketplace where companies, organizations like Proven Optics could come in and using their deep expertise, leverage the capabilities of the ServiceNow platform to create additional capabilities that could be quickly deployed and rapidly put into use by ServiceNow customers. The great thing about the ServiceNow store is that in order to get an application on that store, it has to be certified. And when it gets certified, that means it's met the rigorous testing, it's met the quality expectations, it's met the performance expectations, and it's met the security expectations of ServiceNow. The result of this is a easy to choose way for organizations to adopt new capabilities into their ServiceNow environment. You simply go to the store, look up Proven Optics, download the application. It's that simple and that straightforward. The other beautiful part about it is when an application is deployed on ServiceNow as a platform, it actually inherits a lot of the capabilities of the underlying platform. And so let's talk about how we marry these two things together to create a successful set of outcomes. So first of all, Proven Optics has 3 federal applications sitting on the store. One is dedicated to financial budget formulation and budget execution. One is dedicated to TBM cost modeling, and in fact does more than TBM. We'll talk a little bit about that in our session. And the third is around invoicing or chargeback. Each one of these applications, because they're on the store, has access to the underlying platform and all of those capabilities. So ACLs for security, workflow, form design, uploads of data sets, things like that. Each application also has access to data in other modules on the platform. So as Chris said, if you're using HAM or if you're using SAM or if you're using CMDB or if you're using HR, you can actually leverage that data set and that investment that you've already made in your environment within the application. Now, we were so excited at Proven Optics about this interoperability, this ability of those applications to leverage what's in the ServiceNow store, that we wanted to architect our applications to do the same thing. And so we have 3 applications that together perform as a complete suite, but an agency can pick 1 or 2 of those applications whatever fits best within their needs, their scale, and their current desires for where they're trying to get with their organization. But know that those applications work together as well as with the platform. So with that background in mind, let me tell you about our case study today. So our story today really evolves around a particular use case with division of the Army. And so back in October, November timeframe, the conversation began with a desire to really improve the capability, streamline and automate budget formulation and execution, and start that early stage of TBM adoption, that modeling capability that we talked about. So we started this conversation about how we would go about really automating and streamlining that budget formulation and execution process. Now, we were well past formulation for fiscal 21, and again, this is the beauty of ServiceNow and the platform. We were actually able to go in and take that formulation data from fiscal 21 that was built outside of ServiceNow, load it onto the platform, and begin using it almost instantaneously. Because we had those formulation elements in place, we were able to focus on how we would do execution. Execution is that flow of dollars as they move from committed to obligated to spend that we're constantly trying to link back to our formulation, our budget line items. And so we were able to take fiscal 21, look at those budget line items, and then quickly begin to align the data for what was obligated, committed, and spent in a very seamless way within the platform. And so between those two elements, in a very short span of time, literally the span of weeks, we were able to onboard a process that was being executed offline through Excel in a very manual way with delayed reporting into an automated, online, instantaneous reporting element. And we were all set to go for fiscal 21. Well, you know it was coming. Then that call did come sometime in mid-January saying, hey, we're going to start doing fiscal 22 early this year. We want to start that process of formulation. And we wanted to hit our second goal. We wanted to get formulation online as part of the ServiceNow process. And so because we had already gone through the effort of getting fiscal 21 in line, and those budget line items already existed, we were literally able to jumpstart fiscal 22. Many line items that lived in 21 were going to live in 22. And so we were able to copy them over in a very rapid fashion and let individual budget line item owners edit them and update them for 22. And then the only thing left to do was to add new fiscal line items that they needed for 22. And so that absolutely helped to streamline that process. And while we're not quite done with fiscal 22 yet, it looks like we're going to be able to do that entire formulation, round one, in the span of just 1 week, which is a fantastic time frame to get that first formulation process completed. And because the pipes are already built and we already know how it works in fiscal 21, as soon as we start fiscal 22 and obligated and committed and spend attributes are available, we will upload those from their source systems and be able to pair them up with our budget line items. So that first foray in conversation that started in the middle of October, and now we're sitting in the middle of February. We've not only got fiscal 21 functioning the way we wanted to, reporting the way we wanted to, but we also have fiscal 22 formulating, and it will function the way we want it to when it comes time for those actuals to flow through. So what does this look like in ServiceNow? So the nice thing is we were able to leverage that platform capability and show through a very straightforward and easy to follow form, every budget line item owner can go in and create their budget line item. We can now control what are the required elements so we don't get half data sets anymore. We can use drop-down lists and pick lists so that we can control the context and make sure that all the metadata we need in order for a budget line item to be successfully reviewed and approved is part of that submission. That streamlines the process and makes it much easier for our users. And then if you look, you'll see across the top where we're using that native ServiceNow workflow, and you'll see submit and review and approve steps within that. And again, what's nice about leveraging that underlying platform capabilities, it's very easy to amend or change or update how we want that workflow to function. And then immediately to the right of that, you'll see what those visuals look like. So now we have very rapid, through our performance analytics dashboards, able to display what's in the budget, what's been approved, what's the status is, what's been the burn down, and then every one of these is clickable and drillable, so you can get all the way down to that baseline data. And that's how we got formulation through for this part of the organization. Now, if you remember, the second thing they were looking for was this TBM cost model. How do I get this cost model up and functioning? And in fact, they wanted to move above TBM. So the current TBM structure is that cost pools and tower level. They wanted to actually get to service rather, and get all the way up to business unit. And so we went through the process, and out of the box, we can get to tower. We determined what services they wanted to make sure were part of this process. And of course, we had to bring in their unique consumer groups, their unique business units. And as we went through this process with them, we actually had to make some tweaks and changes to not only the TBM portion of the model, but the services as well, because they have a set of services that are not common or part of the common model. So we had to add some additional services in order to make this model relevant for their agency. And again, the simplicity of doing that and the speed at which we were able to do that is a function of our ability to understand that these elements are important to different agencies. Set up the cost model, do the cost model alignments. Those rules that govern how dollars move through a cost model are now codified in a system. And once they're codified in the system, they run constantly. Not always the easiest thing to get done, but once it is done, you're in pretty good shape. So that ability to constantly run those models and those business rules allows us to load fiscal 21 budget line items, fiscal 22 budget line items, our committed, obligated, and spend amounts. And as they get added into and run through the model, they're all being managed through the same set of business rules and business logic. And the result of that is very consistent outputs, very predictable understanding of what I'm going to see. And then we just generate the reports again from that process. Now, the one thing I will tell you is, as we got from service level up into that bureau or department level, the only thing we had available was a financial metric, a financial modeling tool. And when we got to present this in front of leadership, quite frankly, they weren't impressed. I mean, the idea that they had to have a financial model in ServiceNow, they're like, we already have a financial model. We don't need another financial model. And so we really had to take a step back and talk about what their goals were with implementing this cost model, this TBM model. And what it turned out is they really wanted a consumption-based driver. They wanted to understand cost as it associated from a service to a department based on that department's consumption of the service. And again, a very common and simple process as long as you have the consumption data. And so now we have taken a step back and we're on the journey of finding that consumption data that they're going to need in order to take that service level and align it out to the departments based on consumption. And once we have that and those elements, we'll be able to run this model. Now the same thing's going to happen, whether it's a budget, a committed, an obligated, or an actual spend. We'll be able to see that consumption driver align those usage of those services and their costs out to each one of the departments. So very, very powerful. And again, I will point out it's the middle of February. We started this journey in the middle of October. And so in the span of just a very few short months, have made tremendous progress from a maturity standpoint. So in this particular case, what's next? Oh, let's take a second. I'm sorry. Let me take a second and kind of show you what it looks like in ServiceNow. So within ServiceNow, you'll see on the left-hand side, this is the benchmark process. This is the core capability in the platform that allows us to capture allocations. And we use it to codify the rules, the business rules that run allocations. And then you can see the various visualizations. And again, any one of these views, whether it's a table or a Pareto chart or a pie chart, is clickable. So you can click on it and get down to actually the budget line item that makes it up if you need to go that deep. The result of that is when you're in a meeting and you're having this conversation and the leadership or a consumer says, I don't know, where did that number come from? We can drill all the way back down real time and show them exactly what happened and how those numbers got in there. It makes it a lot more credible and trustworthy, being able to show that real time when folks are asking the question. So what's the future? What's the next step on this journey? Well, for our particular group in the Army, we may or may not go down a path of invoicing. And so when you think about when you align consumption data from a service up into a business unit, how we tell that story and have that conversation with the business unit about exactly what it is that their costs are related to. Even if you're not doing full chargeback, you're just trying to do a better show back. Invoicing is a fantastic way to do it because it simplifies the conversation. It makes it easy to understand what I'm looking at. The familiarity that most of us have with an invoice makes that particular view easy to consume. The nice thing is that we've already built our cost model, so we already know when it's time to set up our invoice what the cost is because we have our cost model at the service level. We know how much you consumed because we have our consumption drivers that are lining up. All we need to do now is to bring that into something visible. And so we do that setup, make our invoice nice and pretty, put our logo, put our address, make it look official, fill it out, decide what services we want to show on the invoice and get them lined up into that. And then we just actually can run it and publish it. And so what would something like that look like? Well, here's a great example of that output in ServiceNow. Very slick, very simple, very elegant, and easy to understand because it's an invoice. It says, here's the service, here's the time frame that we're talking about, here's how many units you consume, here's the cost per unit, and there's the total. And so it becomes very easy for consumers to suddenly understand exactly what they're looking at from that standpoint. So whether or not our agency decides to go down this path with invoicing is, I think, still yet to be determined. If you kind of think about that journey, getting that fiscal 21 budget formulation into the system, automating that fiscal 21 committed, obligated spend, all lined up in a way that made it very simple to track and in real time get information back about where we are in that process, our budget spend, our budget burn down. Our ability to take that same baseline data and get it into a cost model and build out that layer with the cost and then up into the towers and then up into the services and even add or extend a few extra services as was appropriate. So it was a very quick journey to get to a relative good place in terms of maturity and capability, and a few things left to tweak on that journey as well. So using our proven optics solution, we were actually able to solve some very critical elements. We were able to take data from disparate systems, various Excel sheets, emails, and really kind of bring them together, which is one of the fantastic things that ServiceNow as a platform can do. And we're just taking advantage of that within the solutions that we provide as well. We took manual processes, things that were intensive in email and phone calls, represented on Excel spreadsheets, and got them online with a workflow and traceability and instant reporting and to know right away what's been done, what needs to be done, who's got their work done, who's still struggling to get their stuff done. Really speeds up this process significantly because we put rules in place and structured how we want people to participate in a process like budget formulation. We're actually able to have greater consistency. So the storyline and the way we talk about our budgets becomes way more constant or consistent across the organization. We were able to take the disparate data, get it into real-time analytics, and ultimately make better decisions. And all of this built on ServiceNow. All of this encapsulated within that ServiceNow instance, making it a very strong and viable product and opportunity for the organization to move forward with. Well, that was a fast tour, to say the least, of a lot of work that was covered and a lot of great outcomes. And we do appreciate your time and attention today. And we look forward to talking to you more about this and ServiceNow in the future. Thank you so much.